Ukraine has divided the quote unquote left, real left, fake left, faux left, this left, that left. So can you be a proletarian in former content and F with NATO, so to speak? Is NATO in any way a proletarian vehicle, even accidentally?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
My father used to describe NATO as a neo-Nazi alliance. It's an aggressive instrument of war that is wielded by the collective West to keep the rest of the world in line in order to keep maximum profit flowing to the owners of finance capital. That's its job. It exports violence and genocide all over the world. There is no aspect of NATO that is in any way progressive or proletarian.
All right. So why do so many people have the Ukrainian flag who say they're left or trend left or really left, but Putin, 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 Russia, 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 yada, yada, yada?
Essentially, what they're showing is the co-optation of the leadership of the working class movement by bourgeois politics, and how in the West, the labor aristocracy is so tied to the interests of imperialism that they will cheerlead for the interests of imperialism almost louder than the ruling class themselves. Right? And Russia is an impediment to British finance capital and American finance capital because it insists on sovereignty. It's this huge territory full of people and resources that the imperialists want to hyper exploit and loot. And Russia has the cheek to say, well, we'll happily be your partner on the world stage. And the imperialists are like, you haven't understood this relationship. You're supposed to be the servant, right? We don't want to trade with you. We just want your stuff. Desperate to save the system, which is teetering on the brink of a massive meltdown that will put 1930s in the total shade. And they're trying to find ways to restore profitability. What they want is the looting frenzy they got at the time of the fall of the Soviet Union. They want to do that again with Russia. Russian government and people are standing in their way. So this is the origin of all this Russophobia that we see in our society. It's not a kind of endemic thing that Russians and English can't get along. And it's not that, there's something awful about Russians. It's literally that the present Russian government stands in the way of imperialist looting, and they need that loot. And not only does it stand in the way of their looting of the vast territory and resources and peoples of Russia, but Russia is also acting because of the position it's found itself in, where it's been like, well, we're not socialist anymore. Why are you still targeting us? You won't be a colony. They're like, we don't want to be a colony. Well, you have to be a colony. So they're like, oh, well, to be sovereign, they need allies. Increasingly, to bolster their position and keep the majority of the world's people and countries on their side, and also to keep their people motivated and mobilized for the war against NATO that's been forced on them in Ukraine, they are leaning more and more into their Soviet past, which means giving help and support to nations around the world who ask for it on a fraternal, friendly basis, not an exploitative basis. They're not new imperialists. They've made themselves hated to our ruling class because of that, because they're getting in the way of imperialist domination, not only of Russia, but of other parts of the world too. They're helping other sovereign countries stay sovereign or get and defend themselves. So, of course, the imperialist ruling class hates them, targets them, wants to bring them down, and is obsessed about bringing them down. But you see how the labor aristocracy is so aligned with the system that they take on the hates of their rulers almost more vociferously than the rulers themselves. The rulers themselves might have a kind of calm conversation about Vladimir Putin, but never find a labor aristocrat his name without being a painful spitting. Right? And they have allowed themselves to fall for, or they justify their position. I mean, some of them are part of manufacturing this nonsense. Some people just fall for it because it sounds convincing. Other people are working in the machinery of manufacturing this nonsense narrative, which tries to say that Russia is a new aggressive imperialist power in the world. And they use the terminology of socialism and hide behind it. But, if you imagine that NATO is out there, to defend countries that are being aggressed against by imperialist powers.
Promoting free speech and freedom of association and voting. You can vote as long as you vote right.
Yeah. So they use the aspirations and the sentiments of working people, which are against war, which are against imperialism and domination, which want fairness for countries and for peoples. Since World War II, all the imperialist machinations, they've had to present them in a narrative as if they're good socialists, right? We want to free women. We want equal nations. They wrap everything up in the terminology of the oppressed and the aspirations of the world's majority. But increasingly, it's wearing very thin, isn't it? Their hypocrisy becomes more and more evident.